going to see Disney Pixar's newest movie, Toy Story 4, and I am ready to talk about it.
Seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake.
As all you Disney fans know, this is the 4th installment of Toy Story. That's right, 4. So that's why I was a little nervous to go see this movie, because 1, 2, and 3 were all great. I thought it was a nice little cap. And when I heard they were doing 4, I'm like, really? We're gonna stretch Toy Story out more? But it's Pixar, so I felt like it can't be bad, but I was slightly hesitant going into this movie. I was like, what are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do? And they did what Pixar does best. So I'm gonna start with spoiler-free section, and I'll let you know when the spoilers are coming. Overall opinions of this movie, it was great. It was sweet. It's classic Pixar storytelling. Even though it's characters that we've seen for a very long time now, it's still a fresh story. I feel like this movie has grown up with us, so it's definitely more adult-based. I'm not gonna say this movie's great for kids, because there's certain parts are scary, and I will tell you about those in the spoiler section. So just be prepared if you're taking super young kids. It has a little bit of a scary factor to it, but overall a very good movie. All of our classic characters are back. We even get some of our original characters get a little push up in this story. We find out what's happened to them. Of course we get new characters, which I will tell you all about those in the spoiler section. You've seen most of them from the trailers. This movie, in kind of a nutshell, is more based around Woody and his growth and journey. That's a very general concept of this movie. But anyways, I laughed, I cried, I smiled, I cringed. This movie had it all. So I don't think I can say much more without doing spoilers. So this is the spoiler section. Spoiler section. If you do not want to know what happens in this movie, go watch the movie and then come back and finish this video. So this movie starts off with this kind of quick little recap of 1 through 3. So we get to see Andy as a kid playing with Buzz and Woody, and then it kind of spins into how he ended up giving them to Bonnie. But a little extra that we get, Bo Peep's backstory and what happened to her. We kind of know that she was in Molly's room, but we never really knew what happened to her. I never really knew that she wasn't there. It was terrible, I know. But we get more of a backstory of how she left. So I think they had to do that because she's such a big part of this movie. And a lot of us would be like, what? If they didn't give us that little bit of backstory. So it was really just a setup for us to love her even more in this movie, which we do. I think that we all think that Bo is a super kick-ass character in this movie. But I really want to start with Woody. He is my favorite character of Toy Story. I think he's everybody's. It's either Buzz or Woody, and I'm more Team Woody. And it starts out with him really struggling in Bonnie's room because he's not the leader, he's not being played with, and it's kind of sad. He gets left in the closet and we all feel for him. You're like, no, come on, you know? And he gets a little desperate, that I imagine any toy would, who's kind of getting put up on the shelf. So he goes to kindergarten to help Bonnie, and that's where we meet Forky, which kind of snowballs this whole movie. But I will go into new characters after I finish my love of Woody. He gets a little reckless, and we just are kind of like, uh-oh, and then when Forky flies out the motorhome window and he goes with him, we're like, oh no. But you know that there's an adventure coming, and this is what it's gonna be. This is how it's gonna all kickstart. And it does. They're trying to get back to Bonnie's RV, and that's where we hit the carnival and the antique store, and where everything kind of comes together. And we find Bo Peep. And when the two of them reunite, I thought it was gonna be like, oh, they're gonna just be like, Bo, Woody, and it wasn't. Like, I didn't get my happy love story until the very end with them. But along the way, you know, he gives up his voice box, which I thought was very heroic of him, and he just has always recognized the importance of moving on, except when it had to come to him. So like giving up his voice box, I feel, was him accepting his fate of being an older toy and starting a new adventure. And of course at the very end, when he decides to stay with Bo and they hug, and it's just so romantic even though they're toys. I know it's ridiculous. And then he also decides, which I think is the hardest part to accept of this movie, he decides to leave Buzz and the other toys to be this lost toy. And like, you're not mad at him because you're like, yeah, this is his next step of his journey, but God damn, you're so sad to see him leave all of Andy's toys. I know they're Bonnie's toys now, but they'll always be Andy's toys to me. And it's just so heartbreaking. But I was happy for him. I was like, yeah, this is where he needs to be. Next, I want to talk about all the new toys that we got to meet. Let's start with Forky because he's been very popular. I didn't like him. I thought he was weird and I don't know, and how he just wants to be in the trash. Like, okay, fine, but it was an interesting way to bring about a toy that's not supposed to be a toy, and he kind of has this complex about it, and you're like, okay, yeah, but he was just a weird toy and he made poor choices, but it made sense. Then kind of our villain-esque of the movie is Gabby Gabby, and she's so creepy at the beginning that you're like, villain. But then you kind of realize what she wants and she makes her turn. And I have to say that the only part I cried during the movie was when she goes to help the lost girl, the girl that's lost at the carnival, and like how she gets her kid. And I was like, okay, so she's not the villain. Her creepy ventriloquist dolls, I could not handle in this movie. Like, they were so creepy, and that's why I think this movie is not for kids, because they would just like, their creepy spinning heads and their mouths, and they don't really talk, but they're always watching, and they're like limp bodies running at you. It was just terrifying. And we also get a lot of Bo Peep's friends, like Duke Kaboom, who was probably my favorite new character because he's just so ridiculous. I love that he's Canadian and that he's like loves to pose. He reminded me of the original Buzz when he first gets out of his box and he thinks he is the toy, and he doesn't realize he's a toy. And he has that same kind of feel, except it's funny. It's much more funny and light, and he saves the day. He ranks up there as one of my favorite characters of this new movie. And then right up there is Ducky and Bunny. They were just hilarious, and they're always tied together. Like, everybody has had that toy where it's 2 for 1 and the hands are tied together, but they never mention anything about it. And I love that they don't mention anything about it. It's just, that's them. They're just doing their thing and they're stuck together and they just want to find a kid. And I love them. I thought they were hilarious. And finally, I want to talk about a couple of my favorite scenes. First off, I loved the scene where Buzz listens to his inner voice. He doesn't understand what an inner voice is. What he thinks is that it's his voice box, and so he presses the button and his inner voice tells him what to do. And it just so happens that every time he pushes a button, it really does tell him what he's supposed to do. And he listens to it. You gotta love Buzz and his just like practicality of things. He's like, inner voice. Oh, it's a voice that is literally coming from inside me. That must be what he means, and I should listen to it. I was just cracking up because he'd press the button and be like, yes, that's right. You're just like, no, Buzz, no. But yes, you're doing the right thing. And then I think my favorite scene of the whole movie is when Buzz decides to stay with Bo and they embrace and they're gonna ride off and they ride off to the beach together, and it's just, they're gonna be together in a different kind of way than he was with all the other toys. He just gets to start his own journey. I think that was just the sweetest moment of the movie. And then I don't know why this one scene stuck with me that I just keep thinking is hilarious is Combat Carl, the Snow Combat Carl, not getting his high five by anybody. It's dumb, but it's so funny. I don't know why, it just is. And of course, as with every Pixar movie, we get little Easter eggs, I think they call them, to all the other Pixar movies. So at one point we see the grape soda bottle cap from Up. They stop at a Dynaco gas station, which is from Cars. One thing I thought was really interesting is they have I think it's called the Poultry Palace, which is a little snack shack in Pixar Pier at California Adventure now, and they put it into this movie. And I don't know if it's been in a movie before or if they're bringing the parks to the movies now. Either way, I'm not mad about it. I love seeing things that I recognize in movies like this, because then when I go to there, I feel like I'm in Toy Story 4. So if you look throughout this whole movie, you're gonna find hundreds of Pixar things. And one fun little cameo that's not Pixar is that they did toss in some Star Wars characters. If you look really closely when they go into, I think it's a pinball machine they're going into, it's like that dance party. There's an Obi-Wan Kenobi who's like action figure. I was like, okay, I can take some Star Wars into my Pixar. I guess, you know, they started with Lucasfilm, so it makes sense. It all comes full circle, but I wasn't expecting Star Wars in Toy Story 4. And the one thing that I always look for in the Pixar movies is the Pizza Planet truck, and I didn't see it because there was no way I ever would have looked for it here. So if you want to know where the Pizza Planet truck, I'm going to tell you right now. If you don't, put it on mute, and when I put my hand down, you can turn it back on because I'm going to tell you where the Pizza Planet truck is while my hand is up. All right, sound off. It is a tattoo on the Carney guy at the game that Buzz accidentally becomes a toy of. So it's on the back of his calf. I never would have looked there. I love how they're weaving this truck into the story without it just being a truck driving by. I think it's great and clever, and I'm loving what they're doing with this Pizza Planet truck. Okay, keep your eyes peeled for that Pizza Planet truck because it's there, but not in a way that you expect. But that's it for Toy Story 4. I give this movie 2 thumbs up. I was really hesitant, like I said before, because it's a 4th movie and like there's no way it can be good this far out, but it was. It gives us a new story with all the characters that we love. I would be happy with this as an ending, but I think I would also love another movie as much as I do. My name's Aubrey. I make new videos every Thursday, so make sure you subscribe and follow me on all my social media, and I will see you guys next week. To infinity and beyond. One thing you will not see before this Pixar movie is a short. There was no Pixar short in front of this movie. I was very surprised and disappointed. Every movie has had one. All of a sudden the movie starts and I was like, wait, where's the short? There is no Pixar short.